a photo box that I've been keeping my 30 and 30 paintings and sketches in for 2015. I'm going to do a flip of what I've done because I did June 30 and 30 and November 30 and 30. Now I have blank pages at the back for at least a couple more months in here. I'm going to go ahead and do a flip of the ones that I did in 2015. These are inspired by Gina Ahrens. I'll put a link to Gina's YouTube channel in the description box below. So these are the ones that I did in June. Then I'm going to do a flip here. I think I'll try to come in. You'll see me moving this journal back and forth, but I'm going to try to zoom in just a little here. There. So these were half dolls. These were painted with mostly the Gilbert Stuart True Color paints that I got from joggles.com. These were half dolls. One was on a teacup and one was just standing alone. This was a little Dutch shoe that belonged to my mother, and it was filled with dice. And this was a perfume bottle that I had. Some little salt and pepper shakers, and a creamer that belonged to a dish set that my mother got when she got married. This was a doorknob from the old farmhouse that belonged to my mother and father. When my brother started tearing it down, he asked me if I wanted this doorknob, and I made a scissor stand out of it. I got a pair of scissors sitting in it, standing in it. I keep it in my studio. This you can't see very well, but it's a brass knocker, kind of like a Chaucer Old English style. This was a jewelry pin. This is just the lock on a keepsake box. And this is the top lid and this is the bottom. And then this is the lock that goes between. Another jewelry pin here, a rose. And this, believe it or not, was a jewelry pin too of a turtle. I like this little turtle. He shows up quite a bit. And then I got out my fine liners and I was working with drawing lace with white on a colored background. And in this case, it was like a copper background. And here I just drew a geometric type center here with the lace around it. And here I went more into doing flowers connected with lace in between it. Now these were all done in June. I only got 27 of them done in June, but that's okay. Some more lace. And this was these are just flowers done on a silver background. I was just more or less playing around with them there. Over here, I was working with doing flowers again, working with the white fine liner, and then I outlined it in black. And here I was working with doing dancing, I call these dancing stars. You'll see those quite a bit in my artwork too. Just playing around with the fine liner. In this case, I did black on a silvery background. And the same here. This was done in the spring. This was, I went out to my favorite Pope Conservatory Park that's near where I live, and I caught some flowers just kind of walking and swinging my camera. But when I looked at the picture when I got home, it looked like there were fairies having a picnic in there. And really, these were flowers. But in my imagination, they turned into fairies having a picnic. And here's some more flowers from that walk. And another flower that I did off of photographs from that walk. Here was a vinegar jar that I had. And then I was playing with doing lace curtains in the background because I felt like it needed something in the background. And here was a cut glass vase. I imagine this was a sugar, meant to hold a sugar jar, hold the sugar, but I had dried flowers in it. And then these were jars that were hidden behind a lacy curtain. And here again, I was just experimenting and playing. These little gals were inspired by that vintage photo of my mother and her sisters. Now, she really turned out primitive here, but that's okay. I like her. I think she's charming. She's really a primitive here, and I really do like this one. I think I used my imagination and made her holding these flowers with the house over on this side. You'll see these again later on. And then that other one was so primitive, I decided to do this. Was my mother, and she really took on a impressionistic. She went from being primitive to being impressionistic in style. But still had fun with her. I'm not unhappy with it at all. I think it's a very charming painting. I was really glad with how it turned out. So that was my last one in June. And then in November, again inspired by Gina Ahrens' 30 and 30 sketches, I started doing drawings. And these will be more using pen and ink. And I don't think I did any pencil here. But I did a lot more drawing and sketching versus painting, like what I did in these others. So this was just my water jug that I use in my studio here. It's a cut glass pitcher. That was my November one. And then this was some washi tape. There are videos of these that I've put up in November. This is my pincushion doll, Penelope Rose. And then I had this little wooden statue head that I started sketching. And her face is really angular here. This was the first one I did, so I tried to make it a little more round. And the more I worked with it, the better it got. I really do like this one. This was the same doll. Now each one of these, I don't try to go for photorealism. I feel like a camera does that very well. I try to just sketch and have fun. And I work on various things, like I realized here that I was trying to fit this head on this rectangular sheet, and I elongated her head as a result of it. So on my other ones, I concentrated on making her head more circular. Now here it's more angular again, but it's also a three-quarter view, so her head is not going to be completely round. I think I did better again on this one. I really had fun doing these. I think as you look at them as a group, they really do have a lot of charm. And that's what I want out of my art. I want it to be expressive of what I do versus what a camera can do. Now these were fun. These were two little dolls that were in my mother's sewing box. I had a lot of fun doing these. These really came out successful. Very happy with them. And here again I'm sketching my mother off of that vintage photograph that I have. The more I sketched her, I think the better it got. These were ones of her standing. And then this was the more of a portrait style. And as a result of being able to work larger, I think I was able to capture her personality better. This one really came out successful in my opinion. And then this was her sister, portrait style. And I really like this one too. I put those two together. And then this is her sister standing. This little gal is actually this one. This one and this one are actually the same. Very happy with them. And then here are her two other sisters, and I don't know if that's her little brother or another little sister. I can't remember. They came out, I felt like they came out very nice. I'm very happy with those, especially when you view them as a group. Then I had to do some urban sketches. So one day I was out and about shopping. I did sketch some cars in a parking lot and a strip mall. And here is looking in the window of a restaurant. And this was a Super Target store. And all those cars out there. It was going to snow that day. We were getting our first snow, and there were a lot of cars parked out there, people getting ready for the snow. And here again, when you look at them as a group, I think they work together. I'm really happy with these. Then, these are my most recent ones. I did a spool and a darner. That's a vintage needlework tool to darn your socks with. They put that in the heel of the sock and give them something to work off of. Salt and pepper shakers, souvenir salt and pepper shakers, and a clothespin. Here again, they really work together as a group. This was a photograph of my parents' home. Can't decide how I feel about this one. I'd probably do it 2 or 3 times before I was happy with it, but I'm not unhappy with it. It's a fast sketch. Spoon. I wish I could have gotten the bowl of that spoon completely on the page. I should have started with the tip of the spoon right here. But that's okay. I'll do it again better the next time. And then I went to these vintage photos. Very happy with how this turned out. And then here are my men playing their violin. And I call this guy the conductor. And this guy actually, I think I sketched him. I think he looks older than he does in the photograph, but that's okay too. He needed a little bit more work. I could probably sketch him 3 or 4 times before I was happy with him. Not unhappy with him. And then my needlework scissors. So those are my 30 and 30s that I did in 2015, except for I have a little doodle journal that I worked in January, and I'll do a separate flip of that. That wasn't inspired by Gina, that was inspired by Poet Spice. So I probably won't do any more in this until next year. I've had a lot of fun doing this, Gina. I'm looking forward to the next set of them, which may be in March? Thank you for watching, and I will see you on the next page.